Welcome to this budget session. The recess is ended, and I will call this meeting to order of the Grant County Council. The first item on the agenda this evening is Carry Services.
Do we need to do a roll call?
Yeah, let's do a roll call.
Scott,
Yeah, he's not here.
Connor,
Here.
Hicks, Foley,
Here.
Lemming,
Here.
Middlesworth.
Here. We do have a quorum. So back to the first item on the agenda, Carry Services.
You're making me work tonight.
Oh, we got something else. Go ahead. Sit back down.
I'll be back. No, good evening. Jim Albaugh, President and CEO for Carry Services. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come tonight, and I always like to thank the council for your support of the positive impact we're making here in the community. I'm excited to come before you tonight with some great things happening. I just wanted to share a couple things. I've left our most recent annual report, although we've completed another fiscal year now, so you have that in front of you. Several of you came to celebrate our Empower Academy ribbon cutting, and thank you for the participation from the council. I'm happy to tell you that there's a lot of great things happening in that Empower Academy. We've just recently opened a public restaurant for the community called The Kitchen Company. We're in the process of opening a retail space that will be available for the public, and a lot of other positive impact is happening in that space. And then you may have seen that we're in the process of developing and building some additional accessible housing there just off our main campus there in Marion. So lots of cool stuff going on and a lot more. My request tonight is referring to the letter that I sent you all with the original request at that 3% anticipated growth quotient factor of 160,114. I realize now that the growth quotient actually came in at 4%, and so if it's the will of the council, I'd ask you to consider that 4% growth quotient for the 2025 Community Intellectual Disability Financial Assistance request, please.
And I believe that in the council's budget, we've included the 4%.
Yes.
So the motion would be to approve the growth quota at the 4% for Carry Services at the $161,668. Is there any questions or comments? Jim, would you explain, this is outside the levy?
Yeah, it doesn't impact the county's levy for its own funds, so to speak. Well, you could say, and Jim and I talked about this in the past, you could say there is a little bit of an impact because you're adding more tax dollars to the taxpayer's bill, a little impact on the cap losses. It wouldn't be a large amount. There is some impact there, but it does not affect the levy you can raise though for your general fund operations, reassessment fund, Cume Bridge fund, and health fund. This is on top of what the state allowed you to. So.
Are there any questions from the members? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve Carry Services at the $161,668, and that is the 4% growth quota. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. One other question for you.
Yeah.
Where are your minutes? Are they available online?
Pardon?
Your minutes for like your board meetings?
So board meetings, I can provide those to you. Yeah, we
Okay.
make those available upon request.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'll get with you.
okay.
Or send you an email.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah, you
curious.
talk to me, yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
I'll go ahead and refresh our memories of our budget goals this evening. Our budget goals are to adopt a reasonable budget, one that meets the needs and minimizes the needs for additional appropriations. Number 2 is to have reasonable wages and benefits for our employees. And 3 is to maintain a reasonable operating balance for each of the funds. And the definition of reasonable is at least 10% of the fund's budget. Before we get started, we'll go through each department as they come before us. We'll listen to all the requests that they bring, including personnel. However, the items we will be acting on this evening will be the non-personnel items. We will address personnel and raises, additional position requests at the end of the total budget process. However, please start with your personnel first and give us your thoughts there. And do we have an updated 4B tonight?
There was no change,
Okay.
so it's the same.
Okay, so the first department before us this evening is the Veterans Affairs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Brad Hudson, I'm the CDSO for Grant County. Personnel salaries, I did put a 10% for myself and then also 5% for my administrative assistant due to the unfortunate increase in cost of everything that's yet paid for. Other than that, supplies, travel, conference, dues, and subscriptions, I didn't ask for any increase on that.
Are there any questions from the members regarding the Veterans Affairs budget? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve as presented 1000-0012 Veterans Affairs.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the Veterans Affairs budget categories 2 and 3 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank
Thank you,
you.
gentlemen.
Yep, thank you. Next budget before us this evening's area plan.
I'm Jim McCord, I'm going to represent area plan this evening for the budget. Is Mr. Atkins here this evening? There he is, and our new director, Mr. Strauss, is back there as well, but I will go ahead and
Okay.
present the budget request for area plan commission for 2025. Dealing first of all with the personal services category, positions in 24 are the same that we have currently for 25. The only change there is a 5% increase request for salaries and wages. So it's 5% on the salary for personnel and also 5% on the part-time. And the appropriation request reflects that as well. Any questions on that part?
Nope, proceed on.
Okay, we get into other parts of the budget. Under supplies, we have a couple of accounts there. You'll see we have an increase request in supplies from $1,650 to $2,500, increase of $850, just because of supplies that are needed. That seems to be based on what we've been spending the last couple of years, more a reasonable amount to have for that category. Garage and motors, you'll see a decrease from 15,000 down to 10,000, so a decrease of 5,000 there. The department is getting a new vehicle here soon. Have you received it yet? Is the new vehicle in?
We have a new Dodge.
Okay, I know they're gonna get a new one this year, and they also, the second vehicle is rather new as well, so shouldn't be as much need for garage and motor expense as far as repairs go, so that's why we agreed to reduce that to $5,000. Other services and charges, you'll notice an increase in the unsafe building funds contribution, the transfer that the county would authorize to the unsafe building fund. An increase of 50,000 up to 55,000, which that's a $5,000 increase, which kind of is I'll say moving from the garage and motors to the unsafe building fund piece is what it boils down to as a net. The APC members, as we were going over the budget, did express some thoughts about they want to see that unsafe building fund contribution amount be increased. We did settle on the 5,000 this year, just because that's what the decrease was in garage and motors. So that's the rationale, I guess, behind that. And of course, they'd like to see that increase be more than 5,000 at some point, but we did keep it at that level for 2025. Okay, you'll notice under tuition registration, We did have a decrease in our request there from $2,000 down to $1,500, so a decrease of $500 in that account. All the other accounts are the same, we didn't change those. So if you look at it, I guess, in summary for the general fund department, for personnel, it's a 5% salary and wage increase request. And then for the non-personnel, there's a net increase of $350 for 2025. Two accounts went down, or a net zero with a $5,000 change, and the other two accounts netted $350. Any questions on the general fund budget department?
I got a weird question. The 31203, and then back like a page later, we got unsafe building.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that too.
Okay.
Yeah, what that is, you know, in the general fund is where you approve the appropriation to be transferred to the other fund.
Okay.
Okay,
So it looks like the same numbers, right?
yes, yeah, we're asking for the appropriation to be the same. It wouldn't have to be, but we're going to ask you to transfer $55,000 out of general fund, out of that general fund department account, to the unsafe building fund.
Okay.
And then that would be added to the cash that's in that fund that's available to be appropriated for that purpose. Yeah. And just, I'll say by coincidence, we're asking to appropriate the same amount that we're having transferred in new money. There could be a balance of cash left at the end of the year that they could use in 25.
Okay.
We'd have to come back and ask for an appropriation.
Because the fund has a balance in it.
Right. And we don't know what will be spent between now and end of the year, so you don't know what the net cash balance will be at December 31st. If there is money left there, though, they could come back to you and ask to appropriate that in 25.
Okay.
The unsafe building fund is non-reverting, correct?
Yeah, it's established on its
Yeah.
own, and I'm not sure if the term non-reverting applies to it. We don't. It stays in that fund.
Yeah.
It gets used for that purpose. But yeah, that's my next level is the unsafe building fund, fund number 1207. We are asking for you to appropriate $55,000 for the purpose of building demolition in 2025. And like I said, if they have any cash left at the end of 24, they could come back to you and ask for an additional to use that as well next year.
Are there any questions or comments from the members regarding the area plans budget?
I don't know if Randy or Gene, do you have anything you want to add to that? Or?
You did wonderful. Thank you for your efforts.
You're welcome.
If there's no questions, I entertain a motion. Should we approve the unsafe building fund?
I'd say you need to do one motion or do it separately. You want to two motions? Okay. Yeah, just one motion.
Oh, two motions, okay. So the motion be for categories 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. President, I would make a motion to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 in 100079 area plan budgets.
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the area plans budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'm not sure if you guys have met Mr. Straw, but how long ago did you start?
About a month.
About a month ago, so he is new to you.
I think I've met you a couple times. We'll move on to the unsafe building fund. Is there a motion regarding the unsafe building fund?
I'd make a motion to approve the request.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poling to approve 1207, the unsafe building fund, as presented. Are there any questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And just for the record, as of 6:30, the balance is $67,622 in the unsafe building fund.
And I'm not sure how much Jim's going to spend, or James is going to spend between now and the end of the year, so I guess we'll find out later.
Yeah, we've got some houses that we need to get torn down, but I'm just getting familiar with the process, so I don't have a figure for you at this time.
Okay, thank you. The next budget before us this evening's the extension. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Welcome.
Chris Goff, I'm the Purdue Extension Office here in Grant County. Just looked through the budget. We said to do personnel services first. We used the recommended 5% increase for the salaries, part-time and overtime. So that's what's under that section. And I was just looking at it. I don't think it's under supplies. The only one that had a percentage change was contractual services, which is between the county and Purdue University, and that was a 3% increase, and the budget is presented with 3 full-time educators, but the number for the 2.5 educators, which is what we have right now, is down below. And so I don't think anything else had any increases on the amount that we're requesting for those.
Are there any questions regarding the extension budget? The 2.5 educators in the contractual service piece is $94,895. Was there an IT?
There was an IT item, that account 36,600. That's
Okay.
new to their budget this
So-
year, because it's always been in IT, but Marcus had zeroed it out, not knowing that they had utilized it, so we're just moving it to their budget.
Sorry, I forgot about that one.
We pay Purdue, right, for the ITs
Yes,
out of that monies, right? Okay.
for new computers, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the members?
So is the contractual piece part of salaries, though? It's not?
We, in years past, we have approved it and haven't approved it. As far as leaving that contractual
Yeah, there's
piece
times
out.
you waited till the end of the process and looked at it and decide what you wanted to do at that point. It's just whatever you decide. But it is, yeah, it's a contractual, it's not personnel.
The contractual piece is paying Purdue
The personnel.
University
Yeah.
for the personnel.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept categories 2, category 3 at the 24, 2.5 for now, and then category 4, the rest of category 3 and category 4 in the 1,000 extension office.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve categories 2 and 3, but did you say contractual services at the 2.5
Yeah,
educators? For now. And then category 4 as presented. Okay, any other questions or comments from the members? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next budget before us this evening is the sheriff department. It's the smallest budget in this book.
I can have Mr. McWhorter present my budget for me. Thank you for having me here tonight. For salaries, we don't have any increases for salaries. Part of the contract, I think it was a negotiable item this year unless the council.
The only negotiable ones would be the non-union ones, yeah.
So we will just be whatever the council decides for the
Yep.
for the rest of the accounting. We only really had 3 changes, or actually 2 changes. The medical and hospital, we had a 5% increase from the company, QCC, which takes us up to $419,136.86. And then we're also requesting an additional $65,863.14 for a total of $485,000. With the $65,000 is for incidentals, so anytime we take someone to the hospital from the jail, the county's responsible to make those payments. So that's what that's for. It could be higher, it could be lower, you just never know what kind of illnesses you're gonna get. But we did have that 5% increase from QCC. If you remember last year, we looked at we did a study of our medical, and we looked at other vendors, and QCC was by far the least expensive, and that's what we stayed with.
And you're in the contractual service piece, correct?
Yes, in my medical hospital.
Yeah.
The contractual services, that's for meals, that's another area that will have an increase in. For the last few years, we've been budgeting around $560, and we ended up coming back for appropriation, so I wanted to try to make it more of a true budget. And so we are asking for an increase of $760, up to $760,000 for meals. As you know, we're required by the state to feed the inmates, and this year, what we're gonna do, or this coming year, what I'm wanting to do is kind of look at other vendors to see if we can save money with other vendors. When we came in last year, Tiger Commissary was the one that's been doing it, so we haven't had a chance to look at other vendors. So we're hoping that we may be able to save the county some money if we look at some other vendors. We did look at, I did have Becky go back to see what it cost us for the last year that we had our own cooks and our own staff, and we were paying about $702,000 for that. What it does with having a vendor do it is you don't have the headaches of having to hire people. You won't have the headaches of having to order all the food and things like that. So we think it's worth it to go with the vendor. I know a lot of jails, even now, they currently have their own cooks. As soon as they retire, they're gonna go to vendors because it's just hard to find people to work. So those are two of the increase. The other increase I have is obviously for out-of-county inmate housing. I did notice when I was going through the budget that money was budgeted for next year for the detention center at $1.7 million. I'm assuming that you guys are looking at possibly opening that back up for overflow.
Yeah, the thought is we'll go ahead and put it in the budget, that way if it's needed next year, that it'd be there.
Yeah, and what that would do to what we're requesting, the 1.6, obviously, depending on how long it takes to get that done, obviously that's gonna come down. Today, we currently have 273 inmates in our jail here. We have 91 at the other two facilities, for a total of 364. The budget for the salaries for the detention center will cover the amount of people we need to run that. So once you guys decide what you're gonna do with it, once we get it fixed up, we may not need the whole 1.6.
What's, the 1.6 is for how many?
103.
103.
And we're trying to keep below that. As we've discussed before in the past, adjudication is our biggest issue. And as soon as we can try and get that issue fixed, hopefully we can get people through court quicker. Their length of stay in our jail won't be as long, and hopefully we can start getting those numbers down a little bit more, so.
Okay.
But that's all I have. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the members? The only thought I have is, should we hold off on the out-of-county inmate housing, the 1.6, till we have a full body, as far as approving that number? Just a thought. That way it's just not four of us deciding.
I know with the renovation, I mean, I'm not sure how long that will take. I'm assuming if you guys go that route, you're looking at like 6 months to a year probably.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's budgeted, you don't have to spend it.
Right. So,
Just a thought.
hey, whatever the pleasure of the council, it's,
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? As far as the detention center budget, you looked at it?
yeah, I looked at it. The only question I have would probably be the medical. And if that's the route you want to go, we need to, and obviously it is in your budgeting, that's what we'll do, is I'll get our team to start talking to the state about getting a waiver to put additional beds in each cell. Now, we did measure one of the cells today, it was 85 square feet, or 84. I'm thinking he measured the handicap ones, so we're gonna go back and measure the other ones, because by state requirements, you have to have 35 square feet per inmate. So we put 2 guys in there, that would be 70 square foot, right? So I'm hoping he gets over there and they're all 84 square feet, because then we won't have to get a waiver from the state. But maintenance is gonna go over there and measure some of the other cells to see how many meet the 70 square feet requirement, so that we could get another bed in there. Another thing that will do for us, opening that facility for our overflow, it will allow us to implement some therapeutic communities in that, over there. So what we'll do, we'll take a couple of the pods, we'll continue to do our MRT program for our inmates, and we'll try to get some type of addiction program, since we'll have 16 people in one pod, which is really a perfect number to do some of those programs with. So that's really a plus for us on that. The hard part's gonna be staffing it. Because we're talking about, finding people to work, it's a little bit difficult right now. But we will do our best, if that's the way the council and the commissioners wanna go, we'll do our best to get that staff as quickly as possible once you guys give us the go-ahead.
So is your hiring slowed down a little bit?
No, we're still staying about 3 to 4. The jail is what I've learned in this last year and a half, it's a stepping stone for a lot of people that want to go into law enforcement. Like, we're getting ready to lose 3 more detention deputies, a couple of them in Marion. We do lose some every once in a while to other. We're losing one that's going to work at, I think at Walmart distribution, because I think they're starting them out at 30. But we went from being down 21 at the first of last year to now we've been full staff for a few weeks, sometimes a month, and then we'll get to where we're 2 or 3 down, maybe 5 down, and that's manageable. But it's hard to stay fully staffed, because people just use it as a stepping stone. We've lost some probation, some to DCS, some to police work and different things like that. But hey, we always have people, like right now we're down 3, and we always have people that are applying, going through the process, and of course, we have to be careful who we hire. We just can't hire anybody, so we have to be able to pass our polygraph tests and things of that nature. But so far, we haven't had issues getting applicants. So I believe we'll be able to do it. It's not going to be an easy task, but we'll work hard to get it done.
Yeah, no, you've done a good job with the staff.
Yeah, we'll keep working at it.
If there's, are there any other questions? We're not gonna approve categories 1, I guess, so it don't really matter.
Right.
So.
You ready?
But category 3.
Yeah. Mr. President, I make a motion to approve in the 1000-0005 sheriffs, all of category 2, all of 3 with the exception of the out-of-county inmate, just so we have the whole body. And then the capital outlays, which is section 4. And then other ones are readdressed.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the Sheriff's Department budget categories 2 and 3, 3 excluding the out-of-county inmate housing, to determine at a later date, and category 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have to do the other one?
Yeah.
Detention.
You just want to go ahead and approve the detention center budget as presented. Is that fine?
Yeah. Categories 2 and 3.
The question is, the question I have is, maybe for Jim, if we approve this budget and nothing happens in the future, do we need to make it in our motion that?
Well, it could either just stay on your books as budgeted funds,
Yeah.
or you take an action to actually reduce the budget, to reduce that down to what you want it to.
Okay.
It'd be an official action by the council, either let it ride,
Yeah.
just leave it in there, or you reduce the appropriation to eliminate it.
We put in the motion though that, like, to have it reapproved.
Reapprove, what do you
Like
mean?
right now,
You just, right now, if you're willing to do so, you just adopt the budget for the categories you want to adopt at this point. Yeah, you don't have to state that it was something that was in the past, you're putting it back in, you're just approving it as it is at this point.
Okay. Categories 2 and 3.
Yeah, 1000-0381 detention center.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the detention center budget categories 2 and 3 as presented. Are there any other questions, comments from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The work crew funds, all personnel. The current balance of the work crew fund, 4,900, is, as of 6/30, is $100,004. Next, do we need a break? Want to take a 5-minute break or continue on? Okay. Next budget before us this evening will be the health department's budget. Good evening. I'm ready.
For the salary part first, I have asked for just $3,000 across the board. We have a really great, hardworking team, but our salaries, there's a substantial difference between top and bottom. And I just don't feel like it's fair when the lowest paid of our staff would get there would be a substantial difference in the rate. So I would prefer to just do $3,000 across the board this year if that's possible. You'll notice that several of our, not several, 2 of our employees switched from the 1159 fund to the 1161 Health First Indiana fund. It's partly the county portion. The county match does not have to be as much this year, so I had to figure out a way to pay them. But and then also we're asking to have 2 new positions out of the Health First Indiana fund next year: a 3rd food inspector and a nurse health educator. Did that all make sense?
Yeah, the fund's 1159, 1161. Good.
Angie, do you have any questions regarding the salary piece? The 2 positions, the food safety inspector, you would want to start at the 45,236.
I would like that option if we can find someone with great experience, yes. If not, we would start them at the lower salary. We just had to replace one of our food inspectors when April moved upstairs, and got a lady who could just hit the ground running because she has worked as a school cook for a long time and kind of knows half the process already. So if we could attract someone with that kind of experience, it would be nice to be able to pay that salary.
Okay.
And that won't be
Are there any questions regarding the personnel piece?
So the other reason for moving 2 nursing staff to the 1161, the Health First Indiana budget, the 1151, 60% of that budget has to be spent on preventative services. 40% of it can be spent on enforcement. So if I transfer our nurses there, it helps account for that 60%.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't have any questions.
so we'll go into,
Yep, if you would, please. Is there any questions from the members?
so you'll see that I also, our supplies is reduced slightly. I've moved immunization and vaccine supplies and uniforms over to the 1161, as well as contractual services, gasoline and auto, training and education, forms and advertising, vector control, and repair and maintenance. I shifted all of them to 1161. Those are easy ones to get through on the Health First Indiana budget. The only, and I don't believe we've asked for any increase in the 1159. That was a decrease of $202,000.
But it's because you moved them over, right?
Correct. It's just a decrease in what I'm asking for from the county.
Are there any questions regarding the 1159 Health Fund regarding categories 2, 3, and 4? There are none, I'd entertain a motion.
In both accounts? or
No, just 1159.
Okay, so, Mr. President, make a motion in 1159 health, categories 2 and 3, and you want to do 4 of the vehicles. Approve as presented.
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the Health Fund 1159 categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members?
Public input?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now,
Can I ask a question? And I'll plead ignorant here a little bit. 1161 is kind of new since I've been involved. The money from that comes from state, is that correct? That's a state funded source? Okay. Just as a comment on the levy for the health fund, with the lower budget, probably at some point down the road, we'll be able to maybe move some of that levy to another fund instead. I mean, what I saw now, it's okay to leave it where we have, I think, because the operating balance wasn't excessive. But that's something for us to keep in mind, I guess, as we move forward on that.
As long as that funding keeps coming.
yeah, do we know how long at this point?
We'll know this time next year.
Okay.
So, yeah, but does all these people know if these funds go out?
They do. Well, the ones that were county employees previously will shift back to the county. That was the deal. But the new people, yes, there's an awareness there.
Let's hope the state continues to
Absolutely.
hope for the best. So, this budget, this cycle, the money is calendar year.
Guaranteed. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's on the calendar year though, right?
Well, January through December? Or is it like
Yes,
April,
yes,
April?
yes, it is, yes, January, December.
Okay.
Yes. And it's not a reimbursable grant, they'll just deposit the 1.55 million on January 1st.
So we get it all up front, is that right? It's a good deal too.
And then
On
we just do
January
reporting.
2nd, you said?
Pardon?
On January 2nd?
Well, January, yeah.
Or
I guess
whatever.
it's the second. I don't know if it came on the 1st or the 2nd.
It's kind of nice, I funded it all up front. Yeah, I would have thought it would have come in installments or whatever.
Yeah, you'd think it'd come in installments. Maybe.
Maybe we can make some interest on that.
We get the interest, yes.
I jumped through a lot of hoops telling them how we're spending it, so.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and go through the 1161 categories 2 and 3 and 4 if you got any questions.
Do you want me to go through it, or am I?
Yeah, I mean, do you have any comments
The
or questions?
55,000 in supplies might look a little excessive. That is for our school nurse liaison to provide supplies and equipment and things necessary for the schools. Some of our team has implemented a mosquito testing and monitoring program. Big bed bug cockroach program. We're trying to get to a place where when people have a bed bug infestation, we can help them correct that. It's incredibly expensive, and a lot of people get hit with that and just don't have a way to deal with it. So it's a continuous reinfect the classroom, reinfect the family members. That's a little expensive. It's something we're trying hard to do.
Is there any way some of that should be included with like Purdue Extension or any of the other people that go to the schools?
She does partner with, our school nurse liaison, she does partner with them, and in fact, we've met with them some about offering some more courses next year. Right now, we're partnering with them to do the Dining with Diabetes. It's a 4-week course that we are trying to provide to anybody that wants it at no cost with this state funding. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
So that money comes from general fund.
No, state, the 1161
1161
is all state funding.
supplies,
That's all state funding.
so the 2025 budget request is
Yeah, the whole
55,190.
That is, that's our office supplies, it's our environmental supplies, it's our nursing supplies. They just lumped them all into one.
Okay.
Now, when I report it, it's
Separated.
line item down the line, but
What's the software?
that is, hang on, okay, I have that. Oh, that's for a translation service that we need to contract with. We have multiple patients that Burmese, Spanish, so we're gonna contract with a translation service. It's for the iPads, the food inspection program.
Okay.
Maybe I need to bring one of them translators. You just hold the document and teach whatever language you want for like $50.
Well, no, we just met today with the place. We thought we were gonna have to do a monthly contract. We just met with somebody else that maybe for like $1,000, we can get a 3-year deal. I'll let you know.
Then the community partnership piece.
That is, so this year we partnered with the core program and we funded a peer support specialist. We would like to double that next year and fund 2. That is the partnership with Purdue to offer courses. At this point, it's just dining with diabetes. We would like to offer more options. We would like to help fund the tobacco coordinator with the Tobacco Coalition. So it's just different community partnerships like that.
Okay. And then that new for the 25, the building project.
I don't think it's a secret that I really want a new health department somewhere. So they will allow us to squirrel back a small percentage of this money every year to work towards that type goal. And that's what I would like to do with 100,000 of it. It's incredibly difficult to run a functioning office when we're spread out the way we are. I would like one health department.
Yeah, I agree. So the money though, in this budget is gonna be spent on what? It's gonna be,
Whatever's needed to get us a new health department.
okay.
I will have to, when the time comes, I will have to submit documentation to the state and come and talk to you guys about it. I won't be spending it willy-nilly. I have to get all kinds of approval. But they do allow us to stock some back for that kind of thing.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the members? If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion. I know it's a lot to digest. I mean, obviously, this is something that we approved back last year. And as long as the money's there, we're gonna take advantage of it for the
It's
different.
kicking in a big chunk, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3/4 of it, added 2 funds, you added 3/4 of it is state money.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, that we're gonna take advantage of any of those services we can to provide to the community. Just hope that someday don't get clawed back, to Chuck's comment, that those people that we're hiring know that,
Right.
what the situation is. So, but, hey, if there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion in category 1161, local public health services, to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented, with the assumption the building project will get some sort of information from you.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within 1161 local public health service fund, categories 2, 3, and 4. And Mr. Lemming said no, that if we do anything with the building, we'll know about it.
We got one.
Yes.
Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So my new thing is for goals, is needs, wants, wishes.
You want to know my needs,
No, we're covering needs is all we're covering right now.
Gotcha, okay,
Then you can add the other two and send me an email.
okay, gotcha, thank you.
Thank you. Is there commissioners here online? We jump to IT. Good. We're gonna take a break, take a 5-minute break. 5-minute recess. The recess has ended and we'll continue on with the budget process. The next budget before us this evening will be the E911 fund as well as central dispatch. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for your time this evening. For both the 1222 and the 4922 personnel, I requested a 5% pay raise across the board. And my salary and my deputy director's salary come out of 1222, and my dispatchers come out of the 4922. I would also request that my part-timers get a 5% raise, and that longevity would be bumped up to match, I believe the county highway is who we typically follow for whatever their longevity is.
I think everybody's calculated 21.
21 base pay.
Everybody is.
Yeah. We've been trying to keep everybody on the same.
Yes.
So if we get that bumped up to 22, that would be awesome.
Do you feel like that your starting pay for your dispatchers is attractable?
I think, I'm not gonna say no to more money, but I was just trying to be conservative with what we do have. I do know that there is no increases for the salary for my dispatchers passed on to municipalities. So every time my dispatchers get a pay raise, the county council eats that. If I am reading this correctly, the county proposal would make me $719,814 next year just for my dispatchers. So, that does come out of the general, that's come out of the general fund. So I was just trying to be conscious of that, but.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I'm just curious on just comparable.
You see Facebook posts periodically from around the region, and they're anywhere from $20 to $24, $25 an hour. So, we're 1952, so we're right there at the bottom of that. This would bring them up over 20.
Okay. Is there any questions regarding the salary piece for E911 or Central Dispatch? Okay, go ahead and go on.
On my budget for contractual services, I did increase that from $169,500 to $250,000. We had some service contracts for equipment that came out of warranty. The radio system that we have in dispatch and the communication system that we have on the towers, those both came out of warranty, so we have maintenance agreements on those to cover preventative maintenance and equipment failures. So that is the reason for the big increase. The IDAX terminal line, we use that to transmit data to the state of Indiana for our driver's license plates, wanted people, stolen guns, that kind of stuff. The communication lease principal and interest, that's for the 911 equipment that we signed a 10-year agreement on in 2017. So that will be coming up for negotiation in 2026 for starting in 27.
And that was for refresh my memory.
So it's for the Vesta 911 system that we contract with AT&T with.
Okay.
The telephone, I think, is along the same lines. Training education, I left the same at 20,000. Repair and maintenance, I left the same at 10,000. And dues and subscriptions, I left at 750. I also did drop the supplies $500. I know there was some discussion about creating a general fund for me and the commissioners, I would request that that be assigned to Central Dispatch as a department, along with the $1,000 promotional fund that they have with my name on it.
Is there any questions regarding the 1222 categories 2, 3, and 4?
I guess this is a quick question, like the, what's expended so far in 2024 doesn't look like there's been a lot spent yet, really. I mean, you've still got, I mean, am I missing something or?
So I've got some trainings coming up that are requiring some travel and stuff, so, there's about $5,000 coming out for that. So far, I haven't had any repair issues, but I don't want to be caught short.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, the agreements, I understand, the agreements.
Yeah, just to refresh, the 1222 is a fee-driven fund that is based off landline.
We get the number one fees for every landline in our county. I believe it's like 99 cents per phone line. And then we get a percentage of cell phones. And that amount we don't have any control over. We don't have any say in what we get. And historically, Grant County has been a donor to that fund. We give residence-wise more than what we get.
Thank you. Does this support the fund, this budget amount?
No.
And not at all. We're a supplement, right?
Yeah, we need to take $265,000 away from this budget.
Yep.
Create the new department within county general.
Okay.
Do you
And
know
move that money.
whereabouts we're gonna make the reduction?
I would suggest moving contractual services for one, repair and maintenance.
Contractual repair and maintenance.
That would be 216.
And maybe dues and subscriptions.
Well, we and I were talking, we were actually saying the contractual services and maybe part of that telephone line.
Telephone, okay.
That would just, you could use two accounts to clip that $265,000.
I don't deal with any of the communication equipment lease principal or the telephone lease payment. So I don't know, the commissioners must pay that out of that fund, but I don't do it, so I don't, you know.
And just so you know, look at the 4B for that fund, the deficit amount that fund has as it stands now with the current budget that's being requested is $264,977. So that's what we're saying, 265 gets you within $23. You're gonna have a positive $23 of operating balance if everything stays the same. Okay.
Okay. So we need to create a fund that's central to,
Not really a fund, an account.
Created-
It's a department.
Yeah.
create a department. So we need a motion to create a department. What are we calling the department?
It is called Communications Department.
Communications Department. What's the account number?
The department number would be 0303, so it'd be 1000-0303.
Okay. And then we're gonna move contractual services and then the telephone.
Yeah, you could just take 15, if you want to make it, like I said, break it even, so to
Yeah.
speak, you could take the 250 out of the contractual services and then 15,000 out of the telephone line. Make it 265.
And looking at this, I think the telephone is the agreement with AT&T. And I think the communication lease, principal and interest, that would be for my radio equipment.
Yeah, that's, that lease there, that's, right now, the county council's budget pays, I think it's 85,000 of that total. In addition to this total, in addition to this.
Okay.
Can I also suggest putting in a $2,000 promotional?
Yeah, we're moving, are we wanting to move the promotional from the commissioners? Or you wanna leave the promotional in the commissioners and have an additional?
I would rather zero it out of the commissioners because that's the only reason it was there, is for central dispatch.
Okay. And it was what? 1,000?
It was $1,000 for this year, is requested 2 for next, so.
You have to make the account first, or create the department and account
Yeah,
first.
create the department with the motion, and then the account number, and then put the contractual, the telephone, and the promotional items in that account.
Okay.
Okay.
How much?
We'll just do a motion, right? So, Mr. President, I make a motion to create the Department of Communications 1000-03-03, and then inside of that include the contractual services at the new 2025 requested amount of $250,000, and also the telephone at the requested amount of $15,000, and then you need another $2,000 for promotional. That would be my motion. Is that correct?
Okay. A motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to create a department account, communications, with the account number 1000-0303. The line items, communication or contractual services, excuse me, at $250,000. And then what was the other one? Telephone
15.
at $15,000.
2,000 for promotion.
And promotional items at $2,000. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please. I guess we can do a roll call. No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
If I could just remind you, gentlemen, that the interlocal agreement was a 10-year agreement with the municipalities, and I'm not sure if that was signed in 2019 or 2020, but that is coming up. We'll be figuring out how we're gonna pay the staff after that.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, just a question for you on the state money coming in from a revenue standpoint. Angela talked about some. Do you expect the state revenue to change upward or downward, or just stay flat?
I think it's gonna stay flat. Okay. It may go down, if they start taking up more services. We used to pay each of the local phone companies for the 911 circuits. The state now pays that. So the more services they pay, the less we'll get.
As we look at funding that budget, that's an important part of the equation is how much revenue is coming in.
So we're gonna go ahead and, we need to approve the 1222 account with those, minus those items. So a motion regarding that.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to approve categories 2 as presented, category 3 minus what we just did in the new Department of Communications, and categories 4.
A motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the 1222 account, categories 2, categories 3 minus contractual and telephone.
Telephone's 160 now, right? We took out 15,000 of that telephone.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
160, okay. Just make sure we're clear on that.
At 160, and then category 4 as presented. We're clear. I think we have everything. You're good? Okay. Any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your diligence. Very appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Hickson. We'll move on to the next budget before us this evening is the Commissioner's budget. Seeing Mr. Stewart here.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Not too bad.
Everything.
Got copies.
President Millsworth, this is my first go-around of the budget, so
Yeah, start with your personnel piece first and what you requested.
I think just a 5% increase across the board on salaries.
Is there any questions from the members regarding the salary piece within the commissioner's budget?
If I can I jump in just real quick? So the group insurance, that's, I don't know where that number came from. That's not what Justin and I discussed.
I do
3
that.
million.
I do that.
You do that?
I do all that.
Okay.
For like a,
Well, I was gonna request 2.3, but should I just leave it?
leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, disregard mine.
Okay. If there's no questions, if there's no questions on the personnel piece, we'll move on to your budget with supplies and the other categories. It looks like under supplies, you've raised it 550 in one, 2,500 in garage and motors, and then the other two are unchanged.
Correct.
And if you want to go on to start with contractual services, the increase there.
Just with everything, there's a $25,000 increase there just with everything going on with the jail. Justin and I just thought it might be best just for a small increase.
And
Not
so
knowing what we're gonna get into.
we can scratch out the E911 contractual now, so that category would be minus the 265.
Yep.
So we just took care of that.
Okay.
Vehicle insurance is up a little bit. Looks like janitorial, the contractual piece there stayed the same. Contractual services within the legals up 10,000. Is that just
I'm sorry, where you at, sir?
the contractual services / legal?
Oh, okay.
Went from 40,000 to 50,000.
Yeah, again, just not knowing what's gonna go on with Mr. Sullivan. So we brought him on board this year. So, that was kind of the reason for the increase on that.
And then you're fine with the central dispatch portion, that's the correct amount?
That is the base amount with the increase for the requested salaries, yes. So it's the higher amount, is that a 19,815?
Yes.
It is a higher amount.
Yes.
Because I was thinking we could break even without that higher amount, but.
What was that?
Look at the 4B a second. 4B right now shows us being able to have a $158,000 operating balance. And I thought that was just using the current funding without additional general fund funding. Because we're showing the revenue we show is $1,157,500, which is the normal contributions from the county and the other cities involved.
If that's the operating balance at the end of 23 or 24.
Yeah, that's into 25. That actually is in
That's-
25.
The end of 25,
Yeah, it's into
okay.
25. So it's 158,952.
We probably could
You wouldn't have to have it.
reduce that down to the contractual amount of 511.
At this point, you don't need that.
Yeah, 511,000.
Yeah, you could keep it at your 511 if you choose to. Based on the numbers that we have presented as far as the requested budget and the revenue should come in, you wouldn't need it in 25.
We'll move on, slight increase in legal services, 5,000. And then EDC legal and consulting fees was zeroed out. I'm not sure what that was for.
Economic.
Economic development.
Thank you, yes, that we disband.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep. And then everything from there looks unchanged.
We zeroed out the promotional.
Oh, the zero out the promotional.
Zero it out.
Or do you want to leave 1,000 in there?
Zero
No.
out. We moved it to
To the other one.
the new department.
Looks like building liability went up a little bit.
It did. Concerns with the jail.
Preventative maintenance was an additional 100,000. Repair building and structure is the same. The next increase would be the Memorial Day, $200 increase. I'm not sure what that is, do you know?
I'm really not, I'm not sure, I can't remember.
It's the flag placement out at the VA, I believe.
I think that is correct.
Right.
Yeah. I knew it rang a bell, but
Are there any other questions?
Under other services and charges, disaster fund, it shows 50,000 and then it shows minus 50,000, but then we're putting it back in the budget. What do you think?
It's just a bookkeeping thing. I have to move it around to do the transfer.
Yeah, I believe that we created a disaster
There
relief
is.
fund.
Yes.
We've been putting $50,000 in it. It's non-reverting.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the balance
This
is.
is the last year
And
that
we'll-
we'll have to do. It's 250,000 in max.
Yeah.
And this will be 25 will be the last year to donate, to put money in.
Just an interesting question, I think. You guys have seen your own personal vehicle and home insurances go up a ton, haven't you, this past year? And there's only 8% increases for the vehicle and the building liability insurance, so it's 8% gonna cover us?
When's the insurance come up for renewal?
I'm not sure, Mr. Poling, I can't remember.
Can you let
I
me?
knew Justin was with ING very close,
Very good,
so
I would assume
I
that
think
they're
we-
sending estimates.
I'm sure they
I'm
do.
sure.
Yeah, I think we kind of got that from the insurance company.
And that's probably right, just interesting, this isn't as big an increase as we're seeing in our personal lives, which is good.
Yeah. We pound on that insurance, we pound on that insurance company pretty hard.
Well, we're gonna be losing the building and the EMS. We traded in vehicles, got new, so.
Yeah.
Are there any questions regarding the capital outlay piece? If there are no questions, I entertain a motion. We need a total for the fund category 3.
With the reduction for the contractual services, central dispatch and promotional, category 3 total would be $3,505,500. 3505,500.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 after our adjustments in 1000-0068 Commissioner's budget.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the Commissioner's budget categories 2, categories 3. Noted that the U-911 contractual services to 0, and then noted that the central dispatch county portion to $511,000, And then noted that the promotional items zeroed out to zero, with the total being $3,505,500, and as well as approving categories 4. Any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we'll move on to the jail maintenance fund. We've zeroed out the salaries in that fund. And so now we just have repair of equipment at the $25,000, which is unchanged. I believe they moved the personnel piece to
The commissioner's budget,
the
yes.
commissioner's budget just to make
Just
it easier.
to keep track of, yeah.
One of the things I was gonna run by, and that's probably a good time to discuss, just like IT and some of the other departments, they have their own budgets. I was just wondering, like jail maintenance, like maybe the maintenance department needs their own budget to have their own identity.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so maybe I was wondering, maybe we take the jail maintenance and just make it a maintenance fund and then move the personnel back in it. And that way they'd have it'd just be like having their own little department, so to speak. Just something to think about.
Longer, what do you think?
We discussed it earlier, it's something that we can do, I just need to find the appropriate department, and then we can talk about appropriation.
We don't have to do it this evening, I mean, it's
Yeah,
something you could,
I'm not opposed to that at all.
you know. I mean, it'd be similar to IT or any of the other departments, it would be a maintenance department. It'd be simpler in the budget, I think it would be, but something to think about.
Yeah, I agree.
If there's no questions regarding jail maintenance, we could go ahead and approve category 3 as presented. Moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the jail maintenance fund, category 3 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the drainage board fund. Categories 2 and 3 there are unchanged. Is there any comments regarding the salary piece there?
My only comment is that was Commissioner Barnsley's on that board. That was the increase was a request by him.
It looks like that they're requesting the meeting stipend from $50 to $75.
Correct.
And the increase there is reflected. Any questions, comments from the members? Or not, I entertain a motion regarding categories 2 and 3.
Move to approve categories 2 and 3.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within the drainage fund categories 2 and 3 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I believe we're to,
Can I suggest moving to CCD?
Yeah, we better.
IT.
yeah. We'll go ahead and move to 1138, a CCD fund. Do you have anything that you'd like to comment on regarding the CCD?
I do not, sir.
Any questions from the members? Angie, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Okay. And this, is this,
I want to look at something real quick.
does this amount support?
Yeah, I want to look at something or would be on that increase. I'm thinking it did, I wanted to double check.
CCD.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah.
4:30.
You know how many sheriff's cars we bought this year?
I do not. Do you know, Angie?
I don't, and Scott was in the office today, and we were discussing fixed assets, and
I was curious, I was thinking it was 4, but
Yeah, I think that the outlay for is for NCCD.
Okay, that sounds, yeah, that sounds right.
I know that the State Board of Accounts is doing their asset audit right now. I know that the sheriff's bought a few vehicles out of commissary to catch up due to insurance claims not being replaced or whatever, but yeah, typically this fund funds for.
that's what I was thinking, but.
I know the last couple of years though, I mean, it's been hit and miss. I know some county vehicles come out of this fund as well in years past.
yeah, we purchased prosecutor vehicles.
Said we did some of that one. I share it with some of the general and some of that.
So the 4B support.
Before we go, yeah, I
Okay.
wanted to make sure before we went over to that.
And we go ahead and approve this fund in its entirety, correct? Is there any questions from the members? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve Fund 1138 CCD, categories 2 and 4, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the 1138 CCD fund categories 2 and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are we gonna circle back to the insurance review fund, or do you wanna?
We don't need to do anything with the insurance fund tonight, do you think?
It's up to you, I mean, we can, we don't have to. At some point, I'll look at it.
I mean, we're confident in the amounts, correct?
The requested amounts on here,
Or do we typically do that at the end of the process?
right?
But it wouldn't be bad for you to kind of have some numbers to think about before you get to the end. I mean, because we always have to address how much do you want to put into the fund per employee and those kind of things. So
Did you say it was 8% is what their number is? Did you look at that? As an increase?
I did not say that. They're looking at the budget that's been requested is $7,332,000. And I'm not saying that's a bad number. I could probably still stay at 7 million and feel good about it. I was looking at the history of the fund a little bit and where we are currently. And, last year we reduced from 21,000 per down to 17,000, knowing that it might spend some of the cash balance down. You're really still in good shape. Your cash balance now is still a little more than what it was last year. You didn't actually increase the cash balance some, which means you've been good with claims and all
Been
those kind of
fortunate with that. We stayed at 7 million for several years.
You've been, well, I'm not sure we got to 7, but we were higher than what we have been lately. So far in '24, through June 30, you spent 3.2 million. And in '23, at that same point, it was 3.1. So you really haven't increased much in the first half of '24 compared to '23. It's been pretty consistent. Doesn't mean it always will be. I mean, so you still have to be conscious of that. But as Angie and I were looking at it in the office the other day, trying to decide how much money do we put into that fund. In '24, we put $5,705,000 in it. Okay. So do we keep it the same, or do we bump it up a little? And I'm thinking maybe we bump it up to 6 million. But if you bump it up to 6 million and spend the whole $7 million budget, if you use 7 million as the number, you still have 5.4 million on hand at the end of '25 if disbursements follow the same pattern as they have been, those kind of things. But even if that gives you enough cushion, I think.
It's the cash flow at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a cash balance, so you can absorb something that happens unusual for a while. You don't want to go too far with it, obviously. And I'm sure the insurance company would recommend you bump it up a little bit and keep it up, kind of thing. And you can do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't or couldn't, but it looks like your cash
balance situation is good enough to sustain you with keeping things pretty much the same. And Angie and I were talking, do we keep it at 17,000? Do you go to 17.5? And if you go to 17.5, it's a 2.9% increase. Maybe it's not bad to do that, it's sometimes better to bump up gradually instead of a big bump at one time. You know, so you have that kind of thought in mind. So I guess if we looked at it, we would suggest having the funding go to 6 million instead of 5.7. And I was suggesting a $7 million budget, but you could use 7.3 that's on here. I mean, it's okay because you doesn't mean you're going to spend it, so you wouldn't. But if you use 7.3, you still have over a $5 million balance at the end of 25. So you can think about those things between now and when you want to actually finally make your decision on it.
I guess my recommendation would be the 6 million, and then you're going to readjust this form to reflect that.
Well, this is the disbursement side, the 7.3. So I was thinking when we initially did it, 7 million was adequate. If you want to use 7.3, use 7.3. I mean, I don't really care, because whatever you spend is going to be what you spend. It's going to be what it is. The big piece is the receipt side. Okay. You want to stay at 5.7, you want to go to 6, and I'm suggesting 6. And we can, Angie will work on the breakdown between where the funds, where it comes from. And we get this week to the local option income tax fund, but you've got to, I'm going to suggest you bump the amount that you pay out of that fund toward the insurance a little high, bump up a little bit. When we get to that one, you'll see it. So it'll fund a good chunk of the funds, you know, the county's responsibility. So anyway, you can think about those numbers between now and wherever you want to decide you want to take action on it. Sometime between now and the end of the process, you should do that.
Do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Does anybody, any members have any questions? I think that's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll shoot you, I'll find out, I'll shoot you a text either tonight or tomorrow. Thank you.
Just one more thought on that insurance. You know, right now, we're looking at 7 million as the budget in 24, spending that. Well, if you spent the same amount in the second half, you spent the first half, you'd only be spending 6.4. So, yeah, 6.4 plus. So you're still in good shape when it comes to that, so.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll circle back to the IT department.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'll go ahead and I will start from the top. So for salaries, I believe I put in for a 5% increase, but we would gladly accept anything that the council is able to give us. For the overtime budget, I gave it a slight bump up to 4,000 from 3,865. And those are all the changes I did for that category.
Do you still have a vacant spot? On your...
Right now, we are in the process of hiring somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Angie, didn't we approve a part-time?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, but it was just a temporary.
Okay, it's not for next year.
Correct, yeah, that's not carrying over.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments regarding the IT salaries piece? Okay, if there are no questions, you can move on, sir.
Okay. Yep, so for the next category, for our contractual services budget, I gave it an increase of 30,000, which raises it to 180,000. So the reasoning behind that is just for the cost of the new phone system, just so we can be able to accommodate that payment. For travel and conference, I left it at 500, so it's the same. Training and education, I left it at 3,000, so it's the same. County Extension Purdue, I believe this was already discussed. It was going to get relocated to their budget because they're the ones that spend the money out of it. For security software, I reduced that one down 20,000. We've been working with the Secretary of State in the Indiana Office of Technology, and they've given us some services for antivirus and other tools that have eliminated that cost on the county, so I reduced that budget down. For FDR maintenance, I just left it at 8,000, that's worked out pretty well there. Then for GIS hardware and software, I gave that a little increase because it's been running over the last couple of years. And just, I bumped it up to 37,000 from, I believe it is $35,500.
Are we paying the GIS software from this account?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And that's for several offices, correct?
Yeah, that's for the whole entire county.
And then within the contractual services, you have telephone, you say?
Yeah, it's the Office at Hand system.
Okay, and that's for all the county phones?
Yes, that's for all, so for the first time, the county's all gonna be on one phone system.
Okay, so that includes like even out the highway?
Correct.
Correct.
Yep. Mhm. Yep. And then for the final one, this was the biggest one increase out of all of them. It was for the equipment budget. I recommended an additional $100,000. And this is to get the county on a computer upgrade plan or refresh plan. So I would like to open an RFP up next year to have Dell, HP, and whoever that would like to, present different solutions for, to replace all the desktops, laptops, and docking stations for the entire computer fleet. I did get preliminary pricing from Dell. I believe I gave that to you gentlemen, I think it was yesterday, I dropped it off on your desk. And it was basically 2 leases. One was for some desktops and laptops, docking stations, and monitors. And they also included another lease that had the sheriff's department's the tough books. So those are the devices that go into the cars for the deputies. So, and both of those added up to $118,000 annually with I believe it was a 5-year lease. And with the RFP, I believe we would be able to bring that number down. That was just them getting pricing from them directly.
Do you have a sales rep or something to go?
Correct, yeah. We have
Like more companies too, right?
Correct, yeah. So the plan would be to get HP, because we've worked with them in the past, get Dell, Lenovo, just to get other companies to drive the cost down. And this would set up to where we would just replace the fleet every 5 years, and that would keep us covered in all the security updates for the computers and all that good stuff.
So your quote is for how many units?
It was 300 desktops, I believe. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
350 and 4.
Yeah,
but you want to go to a leasing program to lease all the units instead of own them.
Correct.
How old is our fleet?
The fleet, it's really mixed. Most of them are probably in the, I would say, the 5 to 6 year range. Just because with Windows 10, they kept that going for so long. Yeah, we were able to, if a computer's hard drive would quit, we would just, buy a hard drive off of Amazon, put it in there, and it ran like new, just fine. But now that they came out with Windows 11, now they have an end of life date for Windows 10. So, now, that's just one of the things that you have to look at. And they're looking to end support, I believe it is October 2025 sometime. Yeah, so support for Windows 10 will end in October 2025.
So when the lease program, is that gotta make every 5 years, will they just change them out?
Correct, yeah. And I know Dell, they were saying they actually, if they were to get it, they have a fleet of people where they would help us actually deploy them. So that way it's not, we would be able to do it in a timely manner.
I know at one point you talked about like remote desktops.
Yeah, so.
Right, is that?
Well, that's my dream, was, they call it VDI, or Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. So basically you would be streaming your computer to look basically like a monitor.
Yeah.
And the monitor wouldn't really have anything on it but a small computer that just gets the picture from the server. That was my dream, but that's a very expensive.
Oh, it's like double this price, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still very expensive. It's come down, so I think maybe it'd be something worth revisiting maybe in 5 years, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still, nothing still kind of compares to having the hardware like right at the desk and everything happens locally.
I would assume, even though this is a lease, there'd probably be a buyout at the end.
Yeah,
possibly.
so Dell, they gave us 2 different options. So there was the leasing option, and then I believe they had a dollar buyout option, which it looks like that's for the tough books. Which it looks like, so for the tough books, so this would be for all the devices in the police or squad cars. So just for the fair market value, that one's at $21,341, and then just for the difference for the dollar buyout, that one's $23,324. So it's a couple $1,000 difference. But I mean, I think ideally, after the 5 years, we probably just let them come pick them up and we just swap them out with new ones.
Just based on what that looks like, what's the cost per year?
The cost per year, so that I had the 2 quotes I had, one was
$94,950.
Yeah, it was $94,950. So that would cover all the county offices and all the laptops, computers, and desktops. And then the second one, because the sheriff's department, they were looking into getting computers for their squad cars. That was in a separate lease, and that lease payment annually was $21,000.
But that doesn't, does that include all the maintenance?
Correct.
Agreements and all of those things that they don't have any extra tag-ons?
So if the computer goes down, they'll come fix it?
Correct, yeah, and with Dell in particular, I haven't talked with the other ones. They said we can get certified, and when we get certified through Dell, they will actually ship the parts to us, and then we can fix them. Otherwise, you'd have to wait for a tech to come out, and we've had experiences with that too.
Yeah, it looks like over the 5 years with the sheriff's department and the county, you're at $750,750 for the 5 years.
But I believe I would be able to get that number down, because I think that was all the leasing through Dell and their stuff.
The other thought I have is, when I'm just thinking about it, these ARPA funds can be used possibly for something like that, I would think. Could they not?
The equipment?
Yeah, could you not pay a 5-year lease with an ARPA fund?
Because you have your contract. Well, the question becomes, you have to have it set by a certain date, so do you pay it in advance, or do you pay, how much in advance you pay?
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Whether you want to pay all 5 years at one time, I know you're having ARPA funds, and that'd be the question, I guess. How much of that, how many years of that do you pay in advance, I guess?
Yeah, if the commissioners would allow it.
Closer number.
Closer number?
Yeah, see how close you can get it.
Yeah.
Because, you need to know the number exact, right?
Because you generally don't want to pay something ahead of time too far, that's.
Yeah, because I really.
Insurance premiums you pay ahead, but most other things you don't pay ahead, and you're paying for it after it's done.
Yeah, because I really wouldn't know exactly until we open the RFP out and to see exactly how low it would go.
Well, if we made it that high, that would be safe, right?
Yeah, so this was just me eyeballing it, me getting pricing directly from them, and then thinking we were looking serious. Correct, yeah.
Before you do the RFP, don't you have to have approval by the commissioners to do that?
Correct.
But this wouldn't,
This is just the budget.
yeah, this
part,
wouldn't
so
be till next year.
Right,
Right.
yeah, so I wouldn't open an RFP up until January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I think it's a good idea to get us, I mean, I always think if you're gonna spend money, you wanna put us ahead. If we've got the money, we wanna spend money to put us ahead. I think that's the way to do it, but I don't want the maintenance agreements, obviously, we've all had those and we've all seen how bad they've treated Grant County. So,
Yeah, at least.
I'd rather you.
Right. Yeah.
Rather you get certified and move us forward in that manner.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we need to have a plan.
Yeah.
To cycle units for sure.
Yeah.
So,
And that would also, with them being leased, they would come pick them up, and that would be less computers going down to the basement or anywhere else, down to the highway department for recycling,
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
well, maybe we go ahead and budget for it, obviously if it's not spent, it's not spent.
So leave the equipment item in at 235.
I would agree too.
Yeah.
You guys?
You okay with it, Mr. Hahn? Okay. So we're ready for a motion then?
I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion in account 1000-0106 IT to approve categories 3 as presented and 4 as presented.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Pauling to approve within the IT budget, categories 3 and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Marcus.
Hey, thanks again, gentlemen.
I believe that concludes night two. Angie, do you have anything you'd like to add? Mr. McCourt, do you have anything like that? Our next budget hearing is Wednesday, August the 28th at 6 o'clock right here. And we'll be in recess until then.
And remember, I'll be running late Wednesday night, but I will be there. If I can remember all.